Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. Stories of loss to keep you winning. In our community, we know that to win in investing, you must take risk, but to win big, you've got to reduce it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on a mission to help 1 million people reduce risk in their lives. To reduce risk in your life, go to myworstinvestmentever.com today and take the risk reduction assessment I created from the lessons I've learned from more than 500 guests. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz from A Stotz Academy, and I'm here with featured guest Nidhi Mohan Kamal. Nidhi, are you ready to join the mission?
Absolutely. So excited to do this.
Yeah, and I am very excited to have you on. And let me introduce you to the audience. Nidhi is the director of NidSun Wellness, a chain of weight loss clinics with branches in Delhi and two other cities in India. She's a food scientist and a food and chemical engineering degree and has a food and engineering chemical degree and a specialization in nutrition and sports specific nutrition. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, she knows her stuff. She's also a certified Ashtanga yoga, vinyasa yoga trainer, and a certified strength fitness trainer with a specialization in rehab and resistance. You can find her writing and videos on blogs and about food, fitness, and nutrition. She's also the brand ambassador of Puma Do You in India and was part of the Guinness World Record plank. Nidhi, take a minute and tell us what value you bring to this world.
I've been on a mission for the last 13 years to improve health of people. It That journey has evolved. Of course, I have evolved during that process. My approach is evolving continuously, but yeah, the passion, the essence of it still remains. My goal is to improve people's life, make it better. Started off with just health and how they look, but now it's more like spiritual health, mental health, and the overall health. So now I think the approach has evolved, but the essence remains the same.
And I know that all of my listeners want to improve their health and their all that. In fact, I have a little mantra that I usually say, is that I'm healthy, wealthy, and attractive. And when I
Mhm.
say attractive, I mean that I attract good things and good people. And I say that mantra and talk about the things that I want to do. But when I described about healthy, I said my energy
Mhm.
overflows. Like, that's why I want to be healthy, for the energy I can bring to life. But maybe you can just tell us about the typical person that you've worked with in the past, kind of the challenges that they face and the benefits that they get. And I know for a lot of listeners, that tell us about any resources that you may have, Instagram or YouTube or places that they can also follow you and learn more from you.
Yeah, so I am there on YouTube, and I have an Instagram page as well. I do share all these short form, long form video content, which elaborates about the concepts that I believe in. You will find a lot of resources on being vegan, quick vegan recipes, workouts, yoga flows, yoga for joint health, and even some, traditional fitness training kind of workouts as well.
Mm. And maybe for the audience, I want to tell you about my number one fan. She's my mother. She's 83 and
Um,
she's listening to this podcast right now. In fact, she's in the other room at my house here in Thailand. And, it's a challenge as you get older, right? I mean, first of all, if you didn't take care of yourself well when you're younger, you're going to pay the price when you get older. But also, as you get older, it's just a challenge to start. And I would like for you just to kind of maybe give some advice, not necessarily for older or younger, but just for the people that know, Nidhi, I know I'm out of shape. I'm not happy with, way I feel, the way I look. Maybe the pandemic got me down and all of that. And I want to start. And, I see your videos and, your work. I mean, you're at the top of the game. How do I start as a beginner? Maybe you could just give a tip for that.
Okay, I think the biggest trap that's kind of floating around these days, and also with the younger generation, is YOLO. So for everything that they want to do, whether it's food choices they make, habit choices they make, there's always this concept of, you live once, so just live it and be happy in the moment. Doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. And that's kind of like setting yourself up for disaster, because that doesn't work. When it comes to investment, even in health, it's the compounding effect, right? So it's those little things that you're going to do on an everyday basis. It's consistency. You have to plan to live 100 years to live a healthy life, at least when you grow older. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. So these conscious choices, those little things that are going to compound over time, cannot happen without discipline, and you need to throw YOLO out of the window. I mean, with your health and fitness, YOLO kind of will never work.
It's interesting, if you think about your parents or your grandparents or your great grandparents, they lived in a world of scarcity. They lived in a world of difficulty and struggle. And, the idea of invest now, put in the time now to get that benefit in the future is something that's, for a lot of young people, they got a lot in their hands right now. And I'm trying to think about it in a simple way. I guess one of the habits that I built many years ago is I came up with the habit of walking out my door at 5 a.m. That's it.
Wow.
My habit was just walk out the damn door at 5 a.m. Now, I have never, I'm not a big guy that loves exercise, but after doing that, starting that maybe 10 years ago, every morning that I walk out that door at 5 a.m., I never just turn around and walk back in. Once I'm out the door, my mindset's turned. And then I walk to the park, or I walk to the gym, or I get on my bicycle, or whatever that thing is, and I go do it. And that, the compounding effect aspect is massive. And I just wonder if given your experience, if you wanted to tell someone, okay, you've already given great advice. The first advice is that plan like you're gonna live for 100 years.
Live 100. Yeah.
You've talked about the compound effect of doing small habits, and that will build up over time. You've talked about the concept that don't just think of today, think of the long term. The question I have for you is, with Ashtanga, with all kinds of different things, strength and stuff. If you were to tell someone, if you could build just a small habit into your life of this one particular thing, it could be the squat, it could be a sun salutation, it could be a walk, whatever that thing is, what would it be?
If I'd say that it's not related to any of those things, but it's something that, just kickstarts your whole day, is the moment you wake up, make your bed. That is so basic and so foundational, and it's so life-changing, because that process of closure, this is done first thing in the morning. Your activity that started the previous day is closed, and now I have a brand new day to look forward to. That changes everything. The moment you're going to make your bed, then you're going to be like, oh, I can't go back to bed now, so I got to do something more than that. Then automatically you will get up and do your walk or your exercise or take your dog out, whatever that is. But I think that is, for me, that tops the game. The days that I don't, even if I know that I'm in a service 5-star hotel, I would still wake up and make my bed. And I'm sure the people who come for housekeeping after that will be like, what just happened? Why is this person crazy? But I think that's very life-changing for me. And I think it just sets the right tone for your day. So you're in that mode, that tempo the whole day.
So mom was right all the time when she said, make your bed.
Yeah.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, make your bed. Try it. Try that keystone habit, that habit that's going to really make a difference for the start in your day. Fantastic advice. And now it's time to share your worst investment ever. And since no one goes into their worst investment thinking it will be, tell us a bit about the circumstances leading up to it, and then tell us your story.
If I talk about financial blunders, of course, I would have done a lot of them. But let's just talk about, so I'm going to make this about my spiritual growth over years. And I think the biggest spiritual growth for me came not from yoga, not from anything else, but it came from relationships, right? And I think I've had my share of like a series of bad relationships. And every time something bad happened, there was a very good takeaway from it. Sometimes it took me a while to understand it, but I think my biggest spiritual growth has been, people who came in and walked out of my life. So I think I've made blunders there. And yeah, that's a story that I would love to share with people, because I think a lot of people don't understand that the sum total of your life. I mean, of course, eating well, taking care of yourself, all those things are important, but human beings are emotional beings. So the biggest impact that is going to be in their lives is, whatever's happening around them, especially emotionally, and that usually comes from interpersonal relationships. And the more intimate the relationship is, the bigger the impact is. So I think there's a huge impact that relationships have on your spiritual health and your spiritual growth, especially your emotional health. So yeah, that's one series of bad investments that I have made.
So let's go into that
Yeah.
in a little kind of a fun way, a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to
Yeah.
talk about the first day and the last day of those relationships. Now, like, what was it going on in your head when you said, "This is God, this is great. This is, I think, because of this, I want to get into this." And at the
Mm-hmm.
end, what was the feeling? What was the situation? And we don't need to hear all the details in between, but let's just
Yeah.
hear about why you went in and why you went out. How did you feel?
Okay, so I'm not going to name people, so I'm going to
Sure.
start with the last long, whatever relationship I had. The first day I met this person, there were a lot of points of connection. You know, how you, if you're a spiritual being like me, that you will, you'll orchestrate that. Oh, the whole universe was working towards it. So this is it. This is the fine print. I was reading a lot into the fine print. So this person had similar interests, similar hobbies, felt like similar value system, was into yoga, wanted to try out new things, was into traveling. It felt like, okay, this could be interesting. Let's just try. Um, so the very superficial way we look at things, similar backgrounds, not similar backgrounds, we were very different backgrounds because this person was a different ethnicity altogether.
Mm.
But, you look at the interests, the hobbies, very superficial
The
level,
surface things,
right?
yeah,
The
superficial.
surface things. And you're like, oh, this is it. It marks a lot of ticks in my box and, my checklist is done. Cut to that, maybe 1.5, 2 years later, um, the realizations that, it's what I was left with was a lot of delusion about what I thought and what is, not being able to see things clearly and, looking at it from the lens of what I want it to be. I did not consider things that are actually important, which is, consistency, kindness, gratitude, willing to stick around, what do you call grit.
Mm.
And though a person might display that in one set of their life, they might not have it throughout. So yeah, these were some, and I think, I don't know if this is the right point to share that, but I think things like these, when they happen, they give you an insight to what's really going on with you. Because, from a spiritual angle, how I see is that, they say that you find a part of you in everyone, and the people that you don't like are actually things that you don't like about yourself. So, I mean, I really took in a deep dive into my own spiritual health, in what's going on with me, what are, my fears, what are the things that I need to work on. But yeah,
Mm.
it broke me to a point where I was like, okay, I need to change my patterns. I need to look into myself. And I mean, I didn't want to just blame it on the person or
Yep,
blame it
yep.
on the universe or say God is not fair or whatever.
Mm.
But I wanted to take a deep dive and be like, why did this happen? So what from a spiritual point, why did I attract this? And what is it that I need to learn from this?
And can you remember that kind of final days, like that when it kind of hit you? Because it's such a hard thing in relationships because you've invested so much time, you've got some level of comfort with each other, but then there's this moment that where were you at the moment that you realize I got to get out of this or this is going to end?
Mm, we're actually on a trip together, and probably one of the most beautiful places that I've seen. And I traveled a lot, right?
Mm.
So traveled around 30 countries. So for me, that benchmark of, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've seen in life is, it's very hard to get. So yeah, I was there, and although I was enjoying that experience, it hit me that I wish I had come here alone. I would have enjoyed it more because I didn't want the drama. I was
Mm.
not, it's you're not feeling appreciated or even seen in a moment. And I was like, I have just ignored the fact that I've not been seen here in a really long time. And the fact that I wanted to be alone rather than be with this person was, it was eye-opening, because then why are we even in the same space? Is it just out of habit or whatever? And that's it. Like, I took a decision then and there. I'm like, okay, this is it.
Mm. And
I
for
don't
the
even want to talk about it,
yeah,
because there's no point of you having a conversation, because my feelings are telling me everything.
yeah, for the listeners out there, think about how you feel in that relationship. Do you want to go through the other one before prior to that one and say first day, last day?
um I think I don't even connect to that person from, probably like 6 years ago, because again, I had again a very superficial idea of how life is, and it got deeper with time. But I do think that over time I've realized, and again, it's easier to say things outside of a relationship. You can't heal about relationship outside of a relationship, but you can definitely learn your lessons. I think the biggest takeaway for me was the fact that love is intentional. It's not, because I need to clarify this, because if anyone is listening and they're going through a bad phase, and they could be thinking like, oh, I also feel the same way and I should give up on my partner. You should not, but understand that love is very intentional, in the sense that it's not romantic dinners and walks and whatever. It's those little things. It's sticking around. And how I resonate it is, how I look at my dog. There are days that we have our difficult days. There are days when things are destroyed in the house, and there are days that I'm like, I just cannot handle this dog. And I mean, I take my time off, and I wake up next morning and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put in effort. I love you no matter what. I'm going to give this another try. And since it's a dog, and they're faithful, and they don't run away, and they don't have options, and they don't have any apps to swipe on, find more people. They
Looking
stick
for a new
around.
owner. Looking for a new
Yeah.
owner. Swipe right.
Yeah, so it's easier with them, but that's, like the biggest example for me, like where intentional love comes from. And
Mm.
I think the biggest learning is that, that kind of intentional love resonated to yourself, is that it needs to come from you as well. Because
Mm.
when we go through these hard things, when we go through these bad phases in life, or these people who trigger us in different ways, it's very natural for a person to think or judge themselves with the same criteria, that okay, something might be wrong in me.
Mm.
Something seriously wrong with me. Or some people blame it on their luck. I am really bad luck. But how I look at it is that you need to again have that kind of intentional love for yourself, waking up every day that it's okay, I love you, if even if nobody else does.
Mm.
And if there's some work that needs to be done, I'm here to do the work. So that there's a lot of non-judgment for self that needs to come in, and that's been my biggest spiritual learning all through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting tears in my eyes because I'm thinking about, the challenges. My mother came to Thailand 6 years ago. I brought her here when my father passed away, and her condition was pretty, rough, and she had a stroke and all that. And through getting rid of a lot of the medicines and getting more healthy eating and more healthy lifestyle and sleep, which was huge for her recovery, she really has recovered. But it's still hard. It's hard for her. It's hard for me. But what you've just told me is, reaffirm the love and be intentional, and that just touches me. So let's now go through. If you could just kind of summarize for the listeners out there, they've heard your story, but really get down to what lessons did you learn?
Mm, I think the biggest lesson is that um, I think we should never look for somebody out there to kind of fill us or save us. How I approach love now is that I'm a container, and whatever I feel when I'm with someone is coming from me. So I have to, all that love is coming out of me. So I have to fill up my cup first, and I have to fill it up myself. And if there is good inside, if I've filled up my cup with love and affection and compassion and non-judgment for myself, that's what I will bring to the table for someone else too. And the idea that it needs to come from someone else, the moment you lose that idea, it's just so beautiful, because now the intentionality in relationship is not just with the person that I'm going to date. It's with everyone. It's with friends. Also, I've realized that I've started to speak a lot of truth. I hold my truth very nicely. I'm assertive about things that I need to say, and there's no polish or whatever. I don't want to put up a game or whatever. I think when you are very assertive with yourself and then you speak to someone passionately and also compassionately, I think that adds. I think a lot of problems in our lives are just sugarcoating things. So I think I stopped doing that. And that's a blessing, because if something is coming, I can tell you a story. Okay, that story resonated with me for a very long time. So this is, I think I heard it in one of the Buddhist meditation retreats. So think of it this way: you have a knife, which is a sharp knife. It can cut a human skin. Now, there are two people using the same knife. One is a doctor who uses it as a scalpel to fix people's ailments, and the other one's a thief. The intention is to loot and kill people, right? So, on a particular day, if two people use the same knife, the doctor uses it on a patient, the patient dies on the table, the man is dead. Same weapon, same outcome. And there's another person who's a thief, uses the same knife, kills a man, loots him. Same weapon, same outcome. Those two are very different situations, because the intention was the main thing. So I think now my biggest takeaway is, whenever I'm in a relationship with anyone, it's friendship, parents, pets, whatever, what is my intention? So that's the biggest check that I do with myself. Is my intention good? Is it coming from a space of good for them and me, or is it coming from my ego, my selfishness? So once I can get that out of picture, uh, then everything is going to be good, no matter what the outcome. So the outcome can be horribly wrong. It could be something that I didn't expect, but if my intention was good, it's good.
Yeah, that's maybe I'll share a few things that I take away from listening to you. In the world of finance, we have something somewhat similar in the investment world, which is a mandate.
Mhm.
If a client or an investor gives me $1 million to manage, we agree upon a mandate. I want this to be moderate risk. I want this to be this or that, and that's the mandate. Now, as long as I follow the mandate, I'm okay. But if I lose money, if I make a bad decision, it's going to happen. You're never going to win on every bet. And the client knows that too. But where you cross the line is when you say, okay, they're low risk. I'm not doing that well with their money. I think I'm going to take that money and put it in a high risk bet. Now you're breaking your mandate. And so stay true to your mandate, in the world of finance is one thing. The second thing is, what you've shared today helps all of us to think about when you see someone that's very fit, someone that's very healthy, someone that's living that life. Remember, it's actually about both the outer and, more importantly, the inner journey. And that is a lesson that you've taught us, is that inner journey. And the third one is the idea that I'm thinking about is that you manifest in your life, like things that come to you because of the way that you are. And that's a little bit, I'll explain it through a little story. And that when I was a boss at an investment bank, and my staff used to come to me and they said, can you talk? I said, I'm too busy. I can't right now. I'm busy. And I was always basically saying that I was busy and I was stressed and all this. This was many years ago. And then I realized, what kind of person am I? I'm the kind of person that you come to and he says, he's busy, he's stressed, he's always stressed, can't get a hold of him, And I thought, is that the person I want to be? And I thought, no. And that's when I started a little mantra, and that is, all my words are positive. And I repeated that mantra every morning for months and over and over and over again. And a couple of years later, I'd forgotten all about that. And I was telling someone about that, and they said, that's the reason why I never hear anything negative come out of your mouth. Even somebody that's known me now for 20 years said to me last night, I've never heard you swear. And another person said, I never heard you gossip about another person. I never heard you talk bad about another person. And so set your intention of what you want. Set it strongly and repeat it to yourself and keep reminding yourself. And then you will become, and what comes to you also will be awesome. So that's some of what I take away. Anything that you would add to that?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly.
So now let's think about young people like you and me. We're going in fact, I'm still single, so I really need this advice. So, I'm going into, I meet somebody and I'm caught in the superficial. Oh, she's amazing, or he's amazing, or whatever that is. For the listeners out there, what one action would you recommend that they take so that they don't get caught up in that superficial and end up losing a couple of years going the wrong directions?
Since I'm also on the path, so I can't really say assertively this is going to work, but I think slow is the fast. Take it slow. And, always remember that love is intentional. It's not the spark. It's not what you felt at the first date, or it's not all of those things. It's like, it's the bigger things in life. Do they have, would they be consistent? Would they be able to invest in you consistently and let the compounding work for them? So all those things are important. I think now for me, the superficial is like just the tick, and it's okay. Now that we are on the table, I'm gonna see how kind you are. I'm gonna see how consistent you are. I'm gonna see what is your value system, what's your relationship with God, or when I say God, I mean any power that you believe in, the higher power, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever name you put to it. So for me, those things are more important. We all will come with baggage. We all will come with trauma, but how you handle it is
with my baggage. Yes.
Yeah.
We all arrive with our baggage. You can't help it. Okay, so that's awesome. I just taking note. I wrote down slow is fast, because I think the things that you just said, you are not revealed in the first period of time. It takes time to see their level of commitment or intentionality. All right, what is a resource about anything that you'd recommend for our listeners?
Oh, are you talking relationships?
Well, I guess I'm talking about anything that, like it could even be like your YouTubes or something that something that you put into your life. It could be anything.
Well, I do share a lot of stuff online, as I said. It's there on Instagram, it's there on YouTube. I do like to keep a check on my spirituality, otherwise offline as well. But as I can see, there are 700 books behind you. So I have, not here in this room and another place, but I think books is something that I always reach out to. That is definitely one very good resource. I think any kind of content that you consume also becomes a part of you. So you have to be very conscious in terms of what you consume. As you said, you don't do gossip, you don't talk shit, you don't talk swear words. So all those things have to be coming very intentionally in what you consume, since we are living in this digital age where everything's coming to us so fast. I think one has to be very conscious of what goes in. So anything that you think doesn't serve your higher self or your purpose in life, just avoid.
Got it. Last question. What is your number one goal for the next 12 months?
Balance. Something that we all struggled with, especially with the pandemic. Things working, like everything moving online, and then things opening up, and then things moving offline. So I think it's just been like a roller coaster ride of whether I'm working from home, do I travel, do I not travel? So balance is, something that I feel that I've lost because I don't know. I always, every couple of months, I find myself in this space where I'm like, I don't know which direction things are heading, and then things take a different turn. The whole of pandemic, I was trying to like live, um, like take things one day at a time, now plan ahead. But now I feel that as the world opens up, we'll have to go back into the planning mode and start thinking about where things are going. For me, balancing my personal life and professional life is the biggest thing that I have on cards. Of course, you have those minor goals like so and so thing in health and so thing in finances. But I think overall, for me, the biggest thing is like balance.
Yep. I'm sure for a lot of listeners out there, and you've just explained kind of the journey that we've all gone through over the last couple of years. So for everybody out there, focus, on balance is fantastic. So listeners, there you have it, another story of loss to keep you winning. If you haven't yet taken the risk reduction assessment, I challenge you to go to myworstinvestmentever.com right now and start building wealth the easy way by reducing risk. As we conclude, Nidhi, I want to thank you again for coming and joining our mission. And on behalf of A Stotz Academy, I hereby award you alumni status for turning your worst investment ever into your best teaching moment. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
Of course. I think the only thing I'll say to everyone is work on yourself. Love yourself. It's whether it's your body, whether it's your mind, nothing is going to come easy. If we're talking about intentional love coming from someone else, I think there's a huge chunk of intentional love that needs to come from you, for you. Invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge, invest in your spirituality, invest in your health. The biggest investment that you will make in your life is not the bank account, it's you. So keep that as a number one priority. Plan to live 100. Plan to live 100 happy, fulfilled, spiritually, emotionally balanced years.
Fantastic.
And compounding works here as well. So little things every single day.
Fantastic. Well, that's a wrap on another great story to help us create, grow, and protect our wealth and our health. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz, saying thank you for joining our mission, and I'll see you on the upside.